Game of Her Own listeners, have you heard the news? The doors to the Be Seen and Heard at Work group coaching experience are open. I'm talking about the program that will help you take the next level in your career. This means doors are open. You can save your seat before we run out of space. And if you were wondering if this program is the right fit for you, where you are in your career right now, I will keep it super simple for you. It is. Oh, I'm kidding. I don't know that yet. But let me tell you what my clients have told me. My clients have joined the program because at the time they felt defeated, not being able to move to the next level. At the time, they felt emotionally drained because they were stuck and frustrated with not being seen and heard at work. They were done with not growing in their career, and they refused to let it continue to negatively impact their personal lives. In our group coaching program, when you are done, I'm telling you, not even when you're done, when we start, you are going to start to build a strong executive presence. You're going to learn how to advocate for yourself without feeling like you're bragging. You're going to quiet that self-doubt that pops up and holds you back. You are going to be that change agent that uses their voice and speaks truth to power. I love to talk to all my clients before they enroll in any of my programs. We got to make sure it's the right fit. My point, let's chat to see if this group coaching program is the right fit for you. Scroll down in the show notes to where it says Be Seen and Heard at Work. Click the link. The rest is super easy. You're going to schedule a time for us to chat. And I mean it when I say I can't wait to chat with you. And if it's the right fit, I would be honored to support you. Okay, friends, let's get back to the episode. Welcome to the Game of Her Own podcast, a podcast about women who work in sports. I'm your host, Jahaan Blake. After 15 years of working for 3 major league teams, including the Boston Red Sox, Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Chicago Cubs, I discovered the one thing I loved the most was helping women in sports shatter glass ceilings and take their seat at the table. I loved it so much that I made a business out of it. I have the honor of coaching high-performing women in the sports and entertainment industry and supporting them as they go after exactly what they want in their career. So if you are feeling tired of waiting on the sidelines, done being overlooked for promotions, and you're ready to pull ahead of the pack and take your career to the next level, girl, I'm here for it. I also created the Game of Her Own podcast to support you as well. We are here to share the stories of incredible women who work in sports and entertainment. These leaders and trailblazers will inspire you with their success and the lessons they've learned along the way to the top. Ladies, there is nothing like women empowering women. I am so honored you're here. A lot of us have goals for reaching the top. Now, it is very important to realize that the top is defined differently for everyone. Everyone has their own version of success. And whatever your definition, however you define success for you, is correct. Remember that. It is correct because it's you, as long as it's authentic to you and not about what your neighbors are doing. And when I say neighbors, I mean your counterparts or your colleagues. It's important that it's authentic to you. Now, let me give you an example. I had a conversation with a woman very early in my career when I was working for the Red Sox. I was still an ambassador. And I remember, I was bright-eyed and I knew exactly what I was going to do and where I was going to be. And so I wanted to be eventually a director of the department I was in. I just assumed at that point my boss, who was a director, would be at a higher level. And then I also knew that I wanted to be an executive in sports over time. She heard what I said. And she's like, I want to be a manager. And she was a coordinator at the time, or a lower level than manager at the time. And she said, I want to be a manager of the department. For me, success looks like being the manager. I don't want to work crazy hours. I don't want to take this home with me all the time. I understand that at the manager level, I can be impactful, but also go home, also have a nice work-life balance. And when I say go home, you can obviously go home when you worked at the Red Sox if you were at a certain level, but she might go home and not take work with her. And at the time, my brain did not compute. I did not understand what she was saying to me. And I didn't say this to her. I just said it to myself, which looking back, I wish that I actually talked to her more about it, right? Because that's what I would do now. Just try to seek to understand a different viewpoint. But for me, it was go, go, go. Women rule the world. We can do everything. Why would you limit yourself to just a manager? Looking back, so smart. She knew what she wanted. She was crystal clear. And she said it to me with a straight face, pride. She didn't apologize for it. She was unapologetic about what she wanted to do in her career. So that's very important as we have today's conversation, is thinking about what is important to you. Where do you want to be? Now let's talk about some of the different roles that are considered the top. Again, it's for you. So it could be manager, could be coordinator, could be director, VP, SVP, or C-suite. What I'm going to talk about really applies to all different levels, whatever you want, however you define success. I'm going to talk about two different scenarios. Scenario number one is the roles that appear, and all of a sudden you're thinking, this role would be great. I want to be the director of fan experience. I want to be the VP of insert name here. I want to be the VP of client service. It's an opportunity that I see that's missing in our organization. And all of a sudden you say that and you're thinking about it. And then next thing you know, there's an announcement going out, that company-wide email saying that this position has been created and so is going to be in this position now. Let's congratulate them on their promotion. It's those invisible opportunities that just appear. And you were like, I would have loved to have interviewed for that if I had known. I think a lot of places are getting better about posting things, but sometimes they already have somebody in mind. So what I've learned in my time in 20 years of sports, I'm sure this is not going to be a profound realization, but there is a ton of shit that goes on behind the scenes. So we're going to talk a little bit about some tips. I'm going to give you some tips for how to deal with scenario number one, so you're not surprised when a position that you would have wanted just appears. Scenario number two, this is the long game. Someone leaves a position and it opens up and they start to interview for it. Now, if you work for a team or any place that people stay forever, that can be a little, let's see here. That could be frustrating. That can make you want to pull your hair out. Because you're like, I want this position, but this person's been here for 30 years. I'm exaggerating with the 30 years, but not really. There's no guarantee when that person leaves that position is going to be at that same level. That happens a lot. You see someone leave at an executive level, and then they either break their position into two different positions, usually add some stuff onto other people's plate. By the way, if that happens to you, ask for some money. You talk about that. If you need help with that, send me a message. We can talk. Two, they break it down into two different positions, or they just downgrade the position because that person grew into it. So two scenarios: one, that invisible opportunity; two, someone leaves the organization and that's the position you've had your eye on for a long time. Let's talk about tips for scenario number one. How do you create that position that doesn't exist? How do you sort of position yourself to take on that role, to transition from whatever you're doing, or maybe you're already doing that work? How do you position yourself for that opportunity, and who do you talk to? So one thing I want you to do is, I'm going to link to an episode that I did about creating a position from scratch. It's episode 82. So I'll link to it in the show notes, how to create a new role in your organization. Listen to that episode number 82, because it will support a lot of what I'm talking about today. So the first thing you want to make sure you do is identify the gaps. What are the gaps in the organization? So it's one thing to say and have this lofty goal of, I think there needs to be a vice president of fan communication. I just made that up. Don't know that if anyone has that role, but I'm just making that up. So you want to be the vice president of fan communications. You think there is an opportunity there. You think it's a huge miss in your organization. Now, it's great to have that idea. You got to make sure you support it. So what are the gaps? What's happening now? What are the misses that are impacting the organization negatively? And how can you, by creating that position, fill those gaps? What is that going to do? So talk about the pain points, paint that picture, that ugly picture of what's going on now, because there is no vice president of fan communication. be a really fun job. Sorry. So there is no fan director or vice president of fan communication. And as a result, here's what's missing. And you can even not even get into the specifics of the title. You can just get into the specifics of there is no one overseeing it, and here is what's happening. So you want to be able to state your case. So you have to come up with that on your own. And when I say on your own, you have the data. You have data from talking to others, networking, making sure that you're not living in a bubble within your own organization. You have all the anecdotes, you have all the different data points that are going to tell that story for you. Next, you want to socialize it to trusted sources. Talk about what the position could look like. Talk about how you see the gap and how you think it should be fixed. Now, make sure you're talking to trusted sources, people that will keep it confidential. Listen to what they are saying. Listen to the questions that they're asking you in response to you having this casual conversation about this gap. And make sure you take what you need from that conversation to help better strengthen your case. Keep talking about it, trusted resources, go back again. Once you're like, oh, that's, I didn't think of your perspective. Add that in, come back, have the conversation again. Just start socializing what that looks like. Now you want to think about who are the people, who are the key stakeholders that are going to make that decision? Who are the key stakeholders that are going to say, yes, we need that position and we need it today? You need to talk to them as well. Now you've really created a position that's robust, thoughtful. You collaborated just casually, unofficially, but you collaborated with others in your organization to come up with a really strong case. Now you want to start to talk to the people who make those decisions. You want to almost present your case. It is time. Present your case. Doesn't matter if the position doesn't exist. Doesn't matter if they said headcount is frozen. We're not hiring any more people. We're not creating any new positions. Listen, there is validity to that statement when organizations say it, but you have to understand they're operating they're looking at their bottom line and they have to freeze. Your case is going to show why this one position may need them to unfreeze. Right? It's all in telling your story. I love to work with my clients on telling that story and telling it in a way that's compelling and gets your leaders to understand the opportunity and why they need to act now and go against that blanket statement of no more headcount. I'm sure you guys have heard that in your time, especially during COVID. So present your case. I had a client who worked behind the scenes we worked together to develop what the case would be. She worked really hard. She had a lot of work and a lot of research that she put together. Some was talking to counterparts, some was socializing internally, but she put together what was comfortable and authentic for her to present to her executives. So you want to do the same thing. And listen, I don't want to be like all rainbows and butterflies here. Sometimes you don't get exactly what you want, but if you are clear on what you want, and you go into it and okay, I'm going to give this a shot. And if it doesn't work or you don't get exactly what you want, you have to know ahead of time, what are you willing to accept? What is okay for you to keep working at that organization? Sometimes you realize, maybe this isn't the right fit for me. I've tried 3 different versions of trying to bring this position to life. I have tried to get promoted. Maybe they don't value me. Maybe I'm just not I don't want to say I'm not the right fit, but maybe that is what I want to say. You're not the right fit and you want to move on and find another place. Okay. So that's a whole nother episode and we could talk about that, but that's one thing to keep. If you ever message me, we can talk about that. That's a whole other side of it. You come up with this great idea. It helps your career. It helps the organization. It's a win-win for everybody, but then you realize it's not what they want, but it's what I want. So I'm going to go find it somewhere else. And that's okay too. There's a grieving process that we all don't talk about when you realize I want to stay here, but it's not a fit for what I want in my goals. So I have to move on. It's okay to acknowledge it's sad. It can be sad and it can be a grieving process. So I just gave you some tips to help you. If you want to talk more about them, message me and I'd be honored to support you. Scenario number 2, you want a position that somebody else already has. It's tricky. It's all about timing. Gosh, if one more person told me that throughout my 15 years working for 3 different teams, I swear, I just wanted to punch them sometimes. I know it's about timing. I don't have all the time in the world sometimes. So you have to think to yourself, I want to be in a position that someone else has. How long am I willing to wait? One thing you can do if you're willing to wait, maybe the timing isn't right now for you, but is start to talk, be transparent. You can talk to people. If that person just happens to be your boss, do you know how many times that someone said to me who worked for me, I want to do what you do. I want to be you for another organization. I want to be you. If you get promoted, I want to be your right hand. It's okay to have those conversations. So be transparent about what you want to do. Now, if you're not in that person's department, that's another story. You got to focus on how you can network, how you can move into that person's department if you want to. Are you courageous enough to just tell somebody, I want to do what you do. I want your role, but obviously I can't take it. But I hope you could teach me, especially if it's somebody who works for you. So I've had past employees who were now doing what I do in the fan experience space, and I'm so proud of them. But the best thing they could have said to me is, I want to do what you do. Well, great. I was an open book. I'm going to share everything I know with you. I'm going to teach you the behind the scenes of what I do, because what you see every day, it's so much different than what's going on behind the scenes. I want to prepare you to take over this role if I'm to be elevated or to take on this role somewhere else. So don't be afraid to have those conversations with people in your organization, especially if you have a trusted relationship with them. What happens is the end result, the result of having those conversations is when the time comes, again, this is all about timing. If you are willing to play that long game, when the time comes and that person is either moving on, maybe they're taking a leave of absence, right? Maybe maternity leave or sabbatical, or maybe they accepted a job somewhere else. They already know who is the right fit for that. They can, if you guys are aligned and you're thinking that you're the right fit, they can be your sponsor. They can talk you up when you're not in the room to others in the organization who are going to make those decisions. Again, scenario number 2 is the long game, and it's okay if that's what you want to play. But make sure that, like I said, a lot of shit gets done behind the scenes. Make sure you are working on that. Make sure that you are being transparent in what you want. All right, Game of Her Own listeners, we have talked about 2 scenarios, and I've given you some tips to help you out, to help you find those positions that you want, that some don't exist, some exist, but somebody else is holding them right now. So try those tips. If you try them, I want to hear from you. Even if you don't try them and you just want to chit chat, reach out to me. I am always excited to hear from you. I am excited when you share these episodes with others who may need them. Either way, please reach out. Let me know how things are going in your world. And if you're looking for support, you know where to find me as well. Send me a message and we can talk and see if it's the right fit for you to work with me. All right, Game of Her Own listeners, until next time.